A simple reminder to all you guys, just make sure to turn on your microphones before you speak and make sure to speak right into them and not kind of sit back in your chair because it doesn't pick you up, so. Exactly, yeah.
No, just talk like this.
Yep, it's ready.
Okay, I'll call the order to the meeting of the April 11th, 2023 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. First item, do I have a first and a second to approve the March 14th, 2023 minutes?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right.
Moving on to the next item, staff report.
Good evening. I'll try to keep this fairly quick. Construction continues at several commercial projects. Attic storage is getting closer down on the south end of town. McBee's is starting to come out of the ground now, which is the car wash. The Richardson Street Plaza lots are being graded and walls put in to make those usable lots. We have a new project. I think I mentioned it at the last meeting related to a microbrewery over at the 117 South Commercial. They are under construction now. You can see some of the sidewalk work they're doing and some new plumbing work. But eventually, most of their work will be inside. 98% of it will be inside. We have had 7 single-family residential permits this year, kind of a big boom in March. The total amount of value on those for assessment purposes averages $314,000 per unit. That price does not include the land. That's just the house structure part. So $2.2 million in new assessments for next year will be thrown into the mix. And that's all I have off the top of my head. If there's any questions, I'll try to answer those.
Does anybody have any questions for staff? If not, we'll move on to item number 4, public hearing. I will open a public hearing on Woodland West Single Phase Final Plat, 6 lots at 517 Hawthorne. If any member of the public wish to speak for or against the item, please identify yourself, give your name and address for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes to speak. First, I'll call on staff to present an overview of the proposal.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. This is the first item in the packet as well. The proposal is to take a large unplatted lot up there at 517 Hawthorne. There's a house on it from the 50s, I would suspect, and divide that lot into 6 equal lots, 3 fronting Maple and 3 fronting Hawthorne. The size of the lots are all 76-ish feet wide, so they're all bigger than the general lots to the south on that street. But only by 3, 4, 5 feet. So they're all within the code requirements. And there are sufficient easements for ingress, egress, all those things that we talk about generally needing. Pretty straightforward. Water's already there. There will be a slight sewer and extension needed because there's sewer on 3 of the corners, but They all have to, it has to extend to get all 6 lots, so. That's all I have.
Thank you. Brandy, do we have any?
I don't
Public
have any
comments?
public comment cards for that.
Okay. Seeing no more members of the public left to speak, I call the hearing closed. At number 4.
Six or 8 is what you need to speak of.
Okay. This public hearing is closed. We'll move on to item number 5, single phase final plat Woodland West. Do I have a first and a second?
I move to approve.
You, Dennis, do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Deb. Any comments? Okay. Yes, we do have we go over.
If you have the information from the public hearing we just finished. You have the staff report that's before you. You have a copy of the proposed plat. If you have any questions of me, I can answer it. If you want a more detailed description than what I gave at the public hearing, I can certainly do that. I would highlight to the commission that the staff recommendation is based upon the condition that parks fees and the sidewalk easement all be incorporated into it. Applicants agreed to all of it, so just wanted to make sure you were aware that was the condition.
I do have one question on item number 3, where we talk about a good grade relationship
Yes.
for the abutting streets. See where the one side is above street grade, but the others are very close to level. So by that, are they a little above level or a little below level?
But it's got a slight slope to the west. So the ones on Maple have maybe 2 to 3 foot of the lots are below. The base of the lot is below it. But as it relates to the public infrastructure side, which is where the sidewalks and all that are, it's flat. It's good. It's just, they're not houses like up on Liberty where the roof of the house, you look straight across and you see the roof of the house. These are all gonna look just like normal. It's just, they're not all sitting above the road like Hawthorne. The Hawthorne side, excuse me.
Okay.
And that's primarily on the north end of lot 6 and part of lot 5. The rest of 1, 2, 3, and 4 are all pretty much flat.
I just wanted some clarification on which way we were talking
Sure.
about that.
If I may, one last thing I'd like to clarify, we have changed the format of what we put in our staff reports for you. And in particular, we have beefed up the conversation for you all related to any aspects of this related to the comprehensive plan. So you'll see there's a whole litany of items listed here. Those are the action steps in the comprehensive plan that this particular item specifically address. So the action steps is what work do we do to get the comp plan finished? And those are the things this one hits.
Is there existing sidewalk on the west side of Maple, south of that project? Is there existing sidewalk already? Or are we just gonna have sidewalks start and just go up from there? Is it just gonna be in front of that property?
I
Both
think
has sidewalks.
Yeah,
on
Maple.
both sides or on just one?
No, I don't think so.
No,
Both
just on the
sides.
west side.
Yeah, on the side away from the school.
Okay,
Yeah.
so yeah, there's sidewalks there. And there will be new curb cuts and approaches installed, so the sidewalks will have to be adjusted around there. Make them fit. There will be new ones on the Hawthorne side.
Yes. We have new sidewalks on the Maple side too, right? Just in front of the houses.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there will be sidewalks on front of all of them, but there's existing sidewalks in place on the Maple side now. And I'll rely on the literal resident expert. Brandy lives across the street from this, so.
You ever get your letter?
Nope.
Call post office.
Dennis, did you have any questions? Any of the other items? Any questions on any of the other items on what we have here? If not, then I will move to have Brandy call roll.
Okay, Deb. Dennis,
Aye.
Mayor Boley,
Aye.
Billy.
Aye.
Melissa,
Aye.
Alderman Chevalier,
Aye.
6-0.
This item will be on the Board of Aldermen agenda next Tuesday night here at 7 PM. Or thereabouts. There's several meetings that night.
3, 4.
We'll move on to item number 6. I will open a public hearing to amend the conceptual plan for Fairview Crossing at 144th Street and Highway 169. If any members of the public wish to speak for or against the item, please identify yourself, give your name and address for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes to speak. And I'll first call on staff to present an overview of the proposal.
This is a revisions to the original Fairview Crossing subdivision down south of the bank on Central Bank of the Midwest and north of 144th Street that was approved a year ago. During the preparation for a plat, it was discovered there were discrepancies between the platted easement for all those giant power lines and their actual location. And that thereby changed some issues related to the new city sewer that bypass sewer the city's got approved and in design, getting ready to bid on. Based upon all those changes, it caused some layout issues that needed to adjust on their plat. And in addition, there will be a new street as a part of Fairview Crossing North, 147th Street that goes east-west, that this subdivision will now connect. If you would look at your staff report that I presented in the packet, there are 2 side-by-sides of the new version and the existing version. You will see the existing version had that public street going up and then turning into 169 south of Central Bank of the Midwest's property. Now it goes all the way up to the end. Those 3 items, the road change and the easements and all that, triggered some adjustments to make this layout better. So that's the purpose for an amendment to the conceptual plan.
Do we have any public comments?
Kathy Phillips,
Bear with me. I live across the street from Nottaway Bank.
can you say your address?
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
401 Northwest 144th Street. So I'm on the corner house of 169 and 144th Street, directly south of Nottaway Bank. And I knew this development was going to be coming, but I was hoping it would be when I was dead and gone. There are like $500,000 houses down 144th Street going east. And I just cannot see putting in apartments, townhomes. It would be nice to have houses. I hate the thought of having businesses there. 169, you would not believe the wrecks I have gone out and helped people with that have been side impact collisions, rear ends. They've landed in my front yard. They've landed in the ditch. People leaving the major mall, which I know you guys are going to want to get rid of, the road from 144th Street going from my house to the east that you're wanting to do a J turn and they're going to tear that road up. But you would not believe the people leaving from Major Mall, people going south on 169. The road rage is horrible. And I was looking, I do not see from 169th Street going south. When you're in front of the Major Mall, I do not see where there's a turn lane that people can safely get into the right-hand lane or make a right-hand lane so that you can go west on 144th Street. It is so dangerous. I have even been outside mowing, and the addition south of me, people have actually gone north on 169th Street in the southbound lane. And luckily I was outside to get them off and get them to turn one way or the other on 144th Street. I think, Jack, I think at one time you said that development there is Walmart ready, where you're wanting to put things at now. If you guys want a Walmart, fine, but put it down south, the edge of town, businesses south of town. We are losing our country feel that we used to have here. Now it's all these businesses, townhomes. Please put in houses. Let's get more people up here and not all these businesses and no big box stores. Like I said, come out, sit on my front porch, sit in my living room. You would sit in Major Mall and see the traffic and the outrage people are having because they can't get from a fast lane to a slow lane or a slow lane to a fast lane.
Thank
That's
you.
all I've got to say.
Dean Burns. Is it Hank Mildenberger? Okay.
Shannon at 102 Gilliland Circle. My only question really has to do with, I'm curious what's going to be done with the creek there, and if there's a drainage study that's been done for this area.
Yeah, there's been a drainage study done for it. There will be new ones done as it develops with each site plan process for the commercial or for the residential stuff on lots 1, 2, and 3. They will have to do an updated stormwater plan.
So we have access, will we have access to that?
Sure, as they come in, each one of them will be posted on the city website.
Okay.
It looks
So
like
I'm
the-
curious if the creek is going to be, are they just going to fill that creek in? What is the plan for that creek?
That creek is the natural drainage area. The plan is to leave that as the natural drainage
Okay.
area.
All right.
On the
So-
east end of part of it, it is to put in a big detention basin so that the water from the development will go into a basin and then slowly drain back down
Okay,
into
so
that
they have
creek.
the pond down there. That's kind of what that's acting right now.
Well, no, this is a new
This would
constructed,
be a new one.
yeah, it's a detention basin.
Okay.
You want
All right.
to copy this?
Yeah, that'd be
Copy?
great.
You pause.
Is there a better map of what you guys sent out in the mail? Is there like a map that somebody, is this what you showed me?
If you go to
I
the
had
city,
trouble reading.
if you go to the city website and look at the agenda for tonight, there's a packet of all these items, and it'll include every document. you need.
Okay.
It's really big on the.
All right,
yeah,
be-
yeah.
easy
And you
to
can zoom in on it on
see.
your
Okay,
computer.
very good. Thank you very much.
Unless we have anyone via Zoom that wants to speak.
I would like to say something. Okay. Dean Burns, you just called on me.
Okay. Okay, yeah.
You got it.
Dean Burns, I live at 14622 Shamrock Way. I guess I'm not really following the map 100%. I just want to know what your guys' plans are as far as leaving any of those existing trees that are behind the house. And what we're gonna do about noise from the residential, or I don't know if it's gonna be apartment complexes or townhouses that are currently that you have planned to go back behind the house.
I'm not certain which house is yours.
Here you go. Here's the, if you want to look at this map, it's got
Here's a
the
big
aerial
version.
on it too. Oh, yeah, you got it.
Hudson and Kinsley. Okay, yeah. So now I know where you're at. Based upon the location he's identified, which is south of the first cul-de-sac over there in Hills of Shannon. I don't know if that's Hudson or Kinsley. But that location is at the widest point of what is on your plat identified as,
Triangle.
yeah, it's part of tract B. That's the area that's going to be the natural drainage area. There's no plans to tear out those trees. It's a buffer both ways.
Like 3 acres.
Yeah,
Tract B.
there's
Okay.
dozens of acres back there,
I guess. what
tract
I'm-
A and B both.
I don't want to have to look out, when I'm out on my back deck, have to look out and see businesses or other residential properties right out there when I have a nice view of the trees right now. So I don't know if you're planning on leaving that or not. That's what I'm trying to figure out.
I suspect they're going to leave as many trees as they can. I think it's probably a mutual scenario. They don't want to see you and they don't want you to see them.
All right, thank you.
Seeing no more members of the public left to speak, I'll call the hearing closed. We'll move on to item number 7. Need a first and a second for the conceptual plan amendment for Fairview Crossing.
So moved.
Billy, you have a second?
Second.
John?
Who had the second? I'm sorry. Okay,
John.
Okay.
Questions?
Matt, were you wanting to speak?
My name is Matt Cross. I'm with Call Valley Engineering, 8040 North Oak Traffic Way, Kansas City, Missouri, 64118. Madam Chair and Commissioners, I just want to give you a little background on this property. We've been working on it for quite some time now. Originally, it was zoned ag on the west and commercial on the east. We actually switched that around to put the residential between the single-family residential and the proposed commercial to provide a bit of a buffer, a transition, if you will, between the current single-family residences and the denser commercial. We've also brought on a specialist that will go out and delineate what is wetlands. There are protected stream and there was a pond back there. We've brought somebody on that will go out and delineate, tell us what needs to stay protected. We've prepared a stormwater study, worked with MoDOT for the last 8 months to ensure that we meet their concerns on traffic safety and the requirements that they put forth. We've also looked at sanitary sewer and the J-turns, the last thing that they wanted to do was to signalize the intersection at 144th Street. They felt that adding the J-turns and removing the short length between north and southbound traffic would be the safest route and increase safety. They've looked at our proposed development there as well as the increase in traffic due to the developments that's just north of this. So we've done our due diligence. We've done each of the studies. We've looked at stormwater and traffic and feel like we've mitigated any issues that may come up. And of course, as Jack mentioned, as site plans for permitting of construction for each of these lots come up, the studies will need to be updated to accommodate the designs that go in. Thank you.
I have some questions. I'll be for Jack or for you.
Okay.
Because I questioned why there wasn't a traffic light instead.
Yeah,
and I understand there's not going to be. And then the more I read, then I realized, okay, they're gonna take that
Crossover.
crossover out and go with the J turns. And that will be a little bit further south, it sounded like on the one. So do we know the one when you're going north and you want to end up going back south? The location of where those that J turn's gonna be? I know the one going south that referenced about a quarter mile south of where that crossover is now.
Yeah, so that will be as part of the project that is going on with the north,
I couldn't hardly see that.
the bank entrance there, not to get off on too much on this other project.
Is it kind of where it splits? Is that,
Yes,
okay,
yes.
really? Okay. I tried to zoom in and I still couldn't see
Sorry,
it,
Chiefs.
so. And
So-
then my other question, along with doing the J turns, and I know the speed limit goes to 55 right about there as well. Was there any discussion of lowering that speed limit down to like 45? Past those J turns or even down as far as Amory goes? Is there any discussion on that, or is that something that we would, as a city, have to have a further discussion with MoDOT on?
And ultimately, historically, MoDOT's scenario is they want to see what the traffic as it grows, they want to see what it actually does. They don't want to change it until there's a warranted change, need shown. Excuse me.
They need to come up at 8 o'clock or between 7:30 and 8:30 of a morning and 3:30 till like 6 o'clock of an evening.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So.
Yep.
So, but anyway, I think they need to come back during the heavy traffic times to see where that really needs to be slowed down there.
Right.
Along with the comment that was made about the right turn lane onto 144th or even getting into the major mall. It's really interesting to get in there. But anyway, that's another whole subject, but I was just curious if there was any discussion on that speed limit being lowered. So thank you. Any other questions?
I do have one. This is in that when we were doing a strategic planning part, isn't this part of the area that we talked about as the work, live, play area? Down in that south end?
Yes, this is specifically called out in the, if you look at the conceptual plan staff report, I've also added all of the action items in the comprehensive plan, and it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, page 5.
Okay.
Those are all the action items in the current comprehensive plan that this matter addresses specifically. So, yes, this
Yeah, I know
area
those.
was
I just-
intended.
I was just confirming to
The-
myself that this is
the-
what we were talking about, the work,
Yep.
live, play
Yep.
area.
And Nottaway is temporary only, that building, right?
Yes,
they're-
Nottaway is a temporary building.
They're out of there.
Yeah, it's a lease. It's a lease scenario, so Nottaway's looking for another permanent structure somewhere. And I would highlight to you, this is an amendment to an existing one.
Right.
Yep.
So we're not really dealing with the zoning. It's in place. This is just, does it work? Once the stuff to the north was acquired and the engineers started working with all that and the 8+ months, I think you were being very kind to MoDOT with 8 months. It was a long time. We started the conversation with MoDOT when this original conceptual plan was approved, and that was approved a year ago.
Yeah,
We were
on the
at-
agenda in May last year.
Yeah.
on the board agenda. We were at the
Okay.
planning commission on April 12th, so a year ago. And it took a while, as we indicated, and I indicated to the chairman earlier, we were rather surprised that MoDOT went immediately away from the traffic light. It's like, we need to figure out something other than a light. We anticipated the light would be, as a matter of fact, the first traffic study specifically identified the light. MoDOT was, we need to figure something else out. They did not want to do a light here. So if you, and I don't think I put it in the packet because it was a separate document during the negotiations with MoDOT that has both developments in it, but the southbound J turn that turns you back to the north is almost lined up with the fitness center down there by Amory, which is at the north end of that development. It's all the way down that far. So it's a good long distance down there. In part to allow the traffic to calm a little bit before they start having to get over in that lane to slow down to turn. So MoDOT put a lot of thought in it. Matt, Mr. Cross here did a whole lot of work, and his team did a whole lot of work on it. So from staff perspective, we're confident all the studies that they've done, we've approved them all. So we're good on that end.
Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you. Seeing no more comments from the committee. Brandy, would you call roll?
Alderman Chevalier,
Aye.
Melissa, Billy, Deb,
Aye.
Dennis,
Aye.
Mayor Boley,
Aye.
6-0.
This item will also be on next Tuesday's agenda for first reading. This is a ordinance requirement because it is a conceptual plan. It'll be first reading on the 18th. Second reading will be the first meeting in May.
Item number 8. I'll open a public hearing on preliminary plat for Fairview Crossing subdivision to create 3 multifamily residential lots and 10 commercial lots on 53 more or less acres, 144th Street and US 169 Highway. If there are any members of the public that wish to speak for or against the item, please identify yourself, give your name and address for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes to speak. And I'll first ask staff to present an overview of the proposal.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. The purpose of this preliminary plat is to allow phasing for future development of this project as it goes. In order to have separate lots to be able to be sold or dealt off however they wanted to be done, the conceptual plan had to be in place up front, because the conceptual plan is a zoning document that allows the frontage of lots and all those other adjustments to be addressed and amended slightly as long as the intent of the districts are met. And similar to Fairview North that we went through on that portion of the adjusting the lot sizes, we have a similar scenario on the south end of this project. In the commercial side, there's a private drive that goes up through there. We have a zoning requirement generally that all lots must front on a public street unless it's varied by the conceptual plan. The conceptual plan you just voted to approve is a prerequisite to the preliminary plat. And it is anticipated that if this is approved, they will immediately come forward to staff with design and construction plans for the townhome portion at the north end so that it can be constructed in conjunction with the subdivision to the north, since all of that will go out on that new street up north, 147th Street. It is a preliminary plat, so it doesn't give them the right to do anything other than bring construction plans forward.
Okay, Brandy, do we have any public comment?
I'm just gonna call on the same people again because they weren't sure which item they wanted to talk on. So Kathy Phillips,
Hi, it's Kathy Phillips, 401 Northwest 144th Street. Do you know what businesses are wanting to go in on a, nope,
It's general commercial. One of them is identified as a hotel on.
yes, I know Fairfield,
yeah.
yes,
So
which I know we do need a hotel in the area. So on townhomes are going north. And on off of 144th Street on going north, what are those apartments?
yes, I think they're 8-unit apartments
Are
buildings.
they low income?
No, they're 1, 2, and 3.
Okay, it would be nice to have some senior citizen, more apartments for us, which I'm getting close to, possibly, but probably can't sell my house now. And I was wondering, you are city council people. No?
No, these are planning commissioners.
Okay, I was, do you know who the city council?
Yeah.
Who's, sir, who is the city council person for, I guess I'm in 3, I think.
Be Shipley and Atkins, Marv Atkins and Leah Shipley,
Shipley and who, sir?
Marv Atkins.
Well, it's just, I've always have had my my council people come to us and let us know what's going on with the highways and seeing how things are going. And I was just really surprised when I read in the, which used to be the Democrat Herald, is now the Courier Tribune, about what is going on. And I just think it would be a little nice to more communication. I did realize I'm not one to get onto Facebook and all that, but I did get onto that. And I just think there's more communication that needs to be come forward. I know you guys want this to be a booming town, but it would be nice to have communication.
You know, you mentioned Facebook. I don't know if you get on the internet itself. The city has a website and you can go out on the website and look at the agendas and what's coming up. And you could also sign up if you have email for alerts and information along
Okay.
that way as well.
Thank you so very much. You've been very kind.
Okay, Hank Mildenberger. Okay, and Dean Burns. Is there anyone on Zoom that would like to speak?
Okay, seeing no more members of the public left to speak, I'll call the hearing closed. Move on to item number 9, preliminary plat, Fairview Crossing mixed use subdivision. Need a first and a second, please. Second by Deb. Discussion?
What's the timeline looking like on this first phase?
Based upon my conversations with the developer, I would suspect later this spring, summer.
Hey Shane, would you be able to come up here so that people on Zoom can hear you? That's okay. Go ahead.
Just talk.
Just let them know who you are.
Yeah,
for the
Shane
people on-
Crease, I'm the developer, 13530 Mount Olivet Road, Smith, Missouri. Yeah, and to answer your question, so what we're trying to do is once, like Jack mentioned, we were able to get the agreement with Central Bank to be able to put the new road and line it up and get that improved traffic flow. It made sense to go ahead and move forward with the townhome portion. That's why we're phasing it. And so that way we can do all the public infrastructure improvements at the same time and then pull that road in to tie into 147th Street.
And for that lot, I mean, you guys gonna try to build them all at once, or is there just gonna build a few at a time, or?
There's a couple different approaches. I mean, it'll probably be start building them and, you know, as they sell or fill in, just keep moving. And I would suspect with the demand for that type of housing where it's at in a, you know, approximate price point, it will probably move pretty quick. So the goal would be to try to get it done as efficiently, as quickly as possible.
Thank you.
So what phase do you, probably in the packet, but just for those online, what phase do you tie into 144th Street then? Is that when you completed the other phases? Yeah, so right now, the remainder of the development being the apartment portion and the commercial portion on 169 is all part of phase 2. So in order to begin phase 2, and then this was a stipulation of MoDOT, is that we have to do the public road improvements on 169 first before we're allowed to complete any tie-in at 144th, correct?
Yes.
So we've agreed to all that. And like Matt had mentioned before, we did spend a great deal of time and effort with MoDOT to find, the best way that we could configure this for safety. I mean, obviously, everybody knows that intersection is rather busy and somewhat dangerous, and this should alleviate a lot of those problems and help for overall future growth of the city to the south.
Well, my understanding, like the improvements on 169, will that happen more with phase two or will that be, okay?
Yeah, phase two. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, we can't do any construction of phase two until that happens. So,
okay,
you know, I would say potentially it could be happening simultaneously, but there would be no usage connection to 144th until those improvements are completed.
as long as it takes MoDOT on some of their.
That's why we're working on it now. So hopefully 2 years from now, we can get those done.
180th is supposed to start 2 summers ago.
Just wanted to say, put that out there.
We're well aware.
And I
I'm sure
would,
you are.
if I could, I'd like to clarify one point. Shane had identified that it's MoDOT requires when 144th kicks in or connects down here with the street going through, that he has to do that work. But I wanted to specifically note, they calculated the townhomes going north as a part of the 147th Street impact and what, and so their point is, those are good. If you want to do one more unit, you got to do the whole shebang. So that's how come it's a double-edged sword. You can do the south, but only to this point, and then one unit to the rest requires all the rest of the infrastructure. So it's phased in townhomes and everything else.
And sewer starts soon, right? 144th Street.
It should be. I don't know the exact timeline, but should be going to bid for too long. We've got what, 2 or 3 easements left in the condemnation process. So once those are done, they'll go ahead and let it for bid.
More questions?
That I really hate to give a range right now. I mean, till we figure out our overall cost of the development cost for that phase, which we haven't been able to do because we needed to get through this process first, and then they'll start engineering, then we'll start working on that. But you know, I mean, it will be, you know, to whatever the current market is for those square footage range. So, you know, I would like to say, you know, and don't hold me to it, but I'd like to say under 300,000 range.
Yeah,
Unless the market continues to get.
So, yeah, unless lumber goes up another 50 or 60%.
Yeah, to highlight the 314,000 number for those 7 houses, that was for the materials. Didn't include the land. That's the material cost. So,
so still about 250 a square foot right now.
depending on the house size.
Yeah.
Some of them are more, but yeah.
Well, there's a specific reason why it's developed this way, and a lot of it has to also do with the city's long-term comprehensive plan. Calls for medium density housing. So that's why there's not single phase housing in there, because we're trying to meet that plan. So that's why there's a combination of the two.
And if you wanted to go out to the website, there's the comprehensive plans out there, and it even, we developed, just for your information, characteristic areas. And the city's divided up into 5 areas. So the further north you come, the less dense it gets from residential standpoint, but the further south is where he meets that need with what he's doing here. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
Well,
Any more questions from the committee? Any questions? No. Okay,
Okay.
Randy, would you call roll?
Sure. Mayor Boley,
Yes.
Dennis,
Yes.
Deb,
Yes.
Billy,
Aye.
Melissa,
Aye.
Alderman Chevalier.
Aye.
6-0.
This particular item will be approved by resolution or presented to the board as a resolution, but not at next week's meeting because the conceptual plan ordinance has to be first and second read. So it'll be the first meeting in May after the conceptual plan ordinance has passed second reading. If it doesn't pass, it doesn't go.
Before we adjourn, I would like to say this will be my last meeting as a representative of the community because have been elected to be an alderman for Ward 2. So I've enjoyed my time as chairman and serving with you in this capacity. So with saying that, I will move for an adjournment and a second to adjourn, first and second.
First. Deb.
So moved. Thank you.
We need to do a voice vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we're adjourned.
Yeah.